Scuba Dave here. Thank you for joining me once again for another No BS Reactions. This is just me listening to music and telling you what I think. Simple as that, really. I think you probably get the idea. Most folks do at this point in time. What we're looking at today is something that I didn't expect to be out quite as soon as it was, but I knew existed. Of course, if you've seen my previous video talking about my reflections upon Geddy Lee's live shows and rumors about Rush and such, one, you know that I am a huge Rush fan. They are my favorite band in the world for most of my life. And, of course, this whole Geddy Lee memoir is a big thing that I've got to delve into a little bit further before I can reflect on the entirety of the book, but I will get around to that sometime. And we've got a number of other things coming up, Rush-related, in the coming year, of course, with it being the 50th anniversary of the release of their debut. So there's stuff happening in the world of Rush. What I didn't quite expect at this particular time would be the release of the 2 unreleased tracks from Geddy's work on his solo album, My Favorite Headache, back in 2000, that they were played in part at the shows, but to be honest, at the time they were playing, people were exiting or entering the building, things were going on. I couldn't hear what was happening. I could vaguely hear Geddy was singing. I could, hear some music, but honestly, it was not enough to catch much of anything about the song. I figured at some point they'd be released, but didn't know when. Well, turns out it came out this week. So, not the timing I expected. So, of course, yours truly has to immediately jump on that. Figured I might as well do it in this venue, in this format, just to give you my live reflections and live reactions to the first new solo Geddy music in 23 years. Really, 23, 22? That album was 2000 or 2001? I believe it was 2000. I'm going by memory here, which, take your chances with my memory. It's often better to check and confirm. But I've had to give this a listen to. I have to hear what it is, and especially I know one of the songs deals specifically with the tragedies that befell Neil Peart shortly before that. For those that don't know, if memory serves, the year was 1997, and in the span of 10 months, Neil Peart lost, I believe, first his daughter in a car accident. She was, I think, 19 at the time. And then his wife to cancer. And such a short period of time, Neil's family was gone. And I can only imagine what that does to a person. What I know it did to Neil was that he hopped on a motorcycle and he rode. And he rode. And for a long time, several years, Geddy and Alex were not sure if Rush was going to continue as a band, if Neil was coming back. And obviously, as they were all friends, they all hung out. Not only did Neil lose his family, but Geddy and Alex lost people important to them as well, in his wife and his daughter. That's an extended family, and they had their own grieving process to go through in the midst of all of that as well. I know Neil's was probably most intense, but I can imagine it was hard on Geddy and Alex as well. And in this particular instance, apparently, Geddy put it to song. And maybe he didn't. I don't know his reasons for not putting it on the album. There could be a number of reasons. Maybe he felt it was too soon. Maybe he felt it was too personal. Maybe he just wasn't entirely happy with the song. Maybe he felt the other songs that were on the album were better. It was a really fine album. If you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it. There's some great music on there. And unlike if you saw my 10 overlooked Prog albums, and I mentioned Alex's Project Victor, as wildly experimental and varied as Alex's was, Geddy's was more focused and more consistent in tone. And I think you can see in there with his writing that in terms of crafting something more of a closer to a pop song, so to speak, that's where Geddy came in. That's where that part of Rush, I think, maybe came in a little more so than with Alex. And that's the blend of the two of them that made Rush what Rush was, along with, of course, Neil and his drumming and his lyrics. I don't think there's any other combination on the planet that like the three of them together, and I don't think there ever could be replicated. So before I start to ramble, if I haven't already. Let's dig in to this new Geddy Lee song. A rather unexpected situation, but new Geddy Lee. And again, the song is called Gone. Buckle up.
Sun's in my eyes, feels like an hour. I just can't believe there is such a power. It's such a power as this. Gone, sleep, thoughts just keep coming, desire to keep your features are falling, your features are falling from view. Gone,
That's a sweet little song. It's under the category of very understated, and I read in the lyrics and I hear in the lyrics basically the struggle for acceptance, working through denial. The idea that somebody that he knew for many years, two people he knew for many years, are suddenly no longer there. And that's a struggle everyone goes through at some point in time, that we all have to struggle through the loss of somebody important to us, somebody close to us, and dealing with that. And I think a lot of it is him trying to figure out through these lyrics how this can be. How can this have happened? And is it real? I think that's one of the big things. Is it real? Interestingly enough, the reason behind things like having a wake, having a funeral and a viewing, is for a lot of people to help make the situation real because they experience it directly themselves. And that is a way that people work their way through the grieving process. And also origins of the wake to an extent as well, or back in the days when people weren't maybe quite as good, medical science hadn't advanced to the state that it can be pretty conclusive about knowing somebody was dead, and once in a while mistakes were made. So it gave time for the person to come to or wake up again before they proceeded with burying them. At least that's the way I've understood it. So there is both a practical purpose as well as a, what shall we say, an emotional purpose, a mental health purpose. So that's what I feel like hearing there is Geddy working on that. I know there was another song on the album. I'm failing to come to failing to recall the title of it at the moment. in which I feel like he's speaking largely directly to Neil about how he, Geddy, handled the aftermath of his losses. And I've always heard and interpreted the song. I wish I could think of the title right now. As Geddy, to an extent, like apologizing. Basically saying I feel like I let you down, or I don't think I did enough. And maybe that's part of the reason not to include both of these on one album at that time, because it would, in many ways, make it put too much focus on Neil's losses at that moment, and maybe he didn't want to do that. I don't know. I can only speculate, and maybe it's out there somewhere in an interview that I have not heard or seen that Geddy explains it. But knowing that these songs weren't known to the general public to exist until now, it would have been surprising to me if that would have come up in the course of an interview. Wouldn't have been something that somebody would have been able to ask. It would have only been something that Geddy would have offered. And oftentimes, I don't recall too many artists out there talking about the unreleased tracks when they are out there talking about their new album. So, as far as arrangement and such, it's a very, I think, I hate to use the word simplistic. It's not the word I'm really looking for, but it's a straightforward arrangement. Some basically at least acoustic guitar, understated drums, and I think it's meant to be a very quiet song. I think it's meant to be sparse, is the word I was looking for, sparsely arranged. This was not meant to be a progressive song. If anything, this is a mourning song. This is a lament, and I think in terms of the tone and the tempo and all that, I think it does that purpose justice. And it's certainly a song, I think, that evokes the emotions I think that are being expressed. To be honest, I find it a bit affecting here myself right now, just talking about it. So, which is odd because I didn't know any of these people. But I think he succeeded, at least for me, in a certain sense, as knowing what I know about the whole situation and about the people involved, that it's bringing about the emotion I think that he intended. So let's continue. Yeah, it's a really pretty song, and I think it evokes the emotion that is appropriate for, I think, the situation for which it was written, and I think the emotion that Geddy intended. Again, the arrangement is such that this is not a song you want to, I think, over embellish in terms of instrumentation. I think keeping it fairly straightforward, fairly simple, fairly consistent is exactly what it needs for the particular emotion. And it's a shame this was not on that album. Maybe it ran out of space, but I think certainly, to my mind, it would have been one of the stronger songs on that album. And that's saying something. If you know my favorite Headache, it's a really good album. And it didn't get, I think, in many ways, the attention it deserved, which is a shame because Geddy is a fine writer and a fine instrumentalist. And, he brought in some pretty solid people to help him on that album, not the least of which Matt Cameron for drums. But I look back and I think this, in many ways, this kind of puts me back in the same frame of mind that listening to Now and Then from the Beatles did. And that is that it didn't need to be over complex. It didn't need to be anything incredibly fancy. The production was reasonably lush, but still at the same time understated. It did not overwhelm the emotion I think that was intended to be evoked through the lyrics and through the melody. I think it hit the nail on the head pretty well, actually. I have to wonder, I know this is a lost demo. If that's a demo, that's a damn good sounding demo, I got to tell you. Honestly, wouldn't be much I could think that I would want to add to that if I were the producer and trying to push that onto the album. I think it does exactly what it needs to do. Just again, as in many ways, Now and Then did exactly what it needed to do, and it had that same sense of melancholy, that same sense of looking back and missing someone. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Struggling with missing someone. So there you go. New music from Geddy Lee when you didn't expect it. Also, again, similar to new music from the Beatles that when you didn't expect it. It's been a year of unexpected stuff, I think, especially in the latter half. So that is an interesting link between the two there that I hadn't seen till I started talking about it just now. So there you go. That's it. My thoughts on Geddy Lee's new song, Gone, one of two lost songs, the lost demos, out available now to listen to, maybe purchase. I don't think I noticed if you can purchase. So look on your own there and see if you can find it. So thank you once again for joining me for No BS Reviews, No BS Reactions. I don't even know my own title anymore. Geddy's got me in the emotions. He's got me on my feels at the moment. So thanks again for joining me for No BS Reactions. Appreciate your time. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, I'd really appreciate too if you could hit the like and the subscribe, do the bell thing so you know when I'm releasing stuff. That would be awesome. Check me out in the social medias below. Those links are there. The link to my station on Live 365, The Expanse, featuring nothing but progressive rock and metal all day, all the time, is there as well. And hey, if you like the podcast version of my interviews, that is available out there as well, wherever you get podcasts. So thank you once again. I appreciate your time. This is Super Dave, signing off.